always one.
There's always one. Hopefully it's just one. Yeah, check this gate out. This is my fancy one. Best gate on the farm. Old pallet. Good morning, welcome back to Seven Shepherds Farm. Today we're going to show you our feed barn that we put in. When we weaned our ram lambs this year, we decided to put them into a little feed barn and see if we couldn't put a little more weight on them. And also we needed somewhere to go to keep those ram lambs away from all of our ewes so nothing got bred out of season. And right now we just really don't have that many pastures to go with them where I'd feel comfortable that they would never get out and get in with the ewe flock. So here was the solution, at least for this year. We'll see how it goes. It's the first year we've tried it. Usually, like I said, when we didn't have as many sheep, we would just wean the ram lambs. We've banded them in some years, castrated them some years. Some years we left them intact and we put them in a pen and rotated them on our own farm where we have more woven wire. And then the other thing we tried was with those winter lambs that we had this year. We did try creep feeding those, and then we never actually weaned them. We just took them straight off the ewe after creep feeding them and sold them like the next day. So we've tried kind of a little bit of everything, I feel like, but this is, I guess, the next progression in that, trying to find the perfect solution, and there might not be one. But anyway, so this is our ram lamb barn setup. It was an old barn that was already on this rental farm, and we used to keep our baler in here and extra wood chips and all kinds of just random things, kind of just a storage shed, honestly. So we did a little bit of work to it and basically secured the outside of the barn so no lambs could get in, and put some gate on each end so it has a little bit better airflow. That's going to probably be the worst part about this barn, is it does have decent airflow, but it's not great. It's kind of dark in some corners. So that's something, that we could definitely maybe do better in the future. If this works out right now, we'll put some more time and money into it. Built a little pallet wall on the side here, and basically we have 3 pens within this barn. So we have this side over here. This barn is 75 feet long and 40 feet wide. And I think if I did the math right, you're supposed to have like 10 square feet per lamb. So we're way over that mark. So right now we got them pinned out of this middle section, so they probably look more crowded than what they really are. But we're pinning them out of the middle so we can feed in here easily without tripping over lambs the whole time, because they're starting to really get used to getting fed, so they're kind of going after the feed more, which is great. They've been in here for 2 weeks now, and took them a little bit to take to the feed because we don't feed them normally. Obviously, when they're out on pasture, we don't creep feed or anything usually. So these lambs had never actually been fed anything, so we kind of changed their diet, which is one negative of putting them in this barn. We changed their diet almost entirely by putting them in here. But so far, they've actually turned out really well. I'm hoping they'll, the first 2 weeks are probably going to be the worst, I would think. after weaning. So we made these feeders and set up, gave them hay, and we have soy hulls. So basically we have like a grower ration that we hand feed every day. That's in these feeders. That was the idea. And I just took this 12-inch culvert pipe, cut it in half, and then I had originally left it 20 feet long, and then over time they kind of like to walk in here. You're still getting a little bit of, you know, stuff off their feet getting in the feed, but as soon as they start walking through it and getting a lot of trash in there, they don't want to eat it. So yesterday I actually went through and cut them all in half. So now we have 10-foot feeders, and they're easy to move, and they're super lightweight yet because these culvert pipes are really light, but they're durable. And then it's attached to 2x10 or 2x4, 10-foot long across the top. And I think they're like a foot off the bottom of the trough anyway, so they can get their head in there easily, but they're a lot less likely to try and jump over these things. I actually haven't seen any try to jump over them since then. They go around, which was the main issue with leaving it all wide open on top. So that's going to help with the feed waste. And then so what we're going to do now, here in a minute, we'll clean whatever's left out of here. And actually I've just been throwing that to our mature rams just to get rid of it and not waste it. But I think the only thing that's pretty well left in most of this is soy hulls, the way it looks to me. There's some pellets in there, maybe a few kernels of corn, mainly soy hulls, which is kind of ironic because that's what we have. And this next feeder is straight soy hulls. There's a little bit of molasses, but not much. And we're just using an old hog feeder, which works, actually has been great because they can eat as much of the soy hulls as they want. It's kind of a filler. They cannot overeat on soy hulls, just something to keep them going. Because like I said, we're hand feeding our grower pellets, our grower feed over there. So they are limited on that every day. So they're actually they ate way more of the soy hulls than I thought they would. Like I said, we've had these in here for 2 weeks. So they already went through 1.5 tons, and then judging by the way this looks, they've gone through at least another 500 pounds. So they've gone through at least a ton of soy hulls in 2 weeks. And then we just gave them a bale of hay. So this is the second bale of hay I put in here. So basically they're going through about a bale a week. I think we have 180 ram lambs in here, I believe is what it is. But they just eat that. Yeah, I keep the hay feeder full at all times so they can eat as much hay as they want. This is the only thing that we limit them on, and that's because it's a grower ration and we don't want them to overeat. So, all right, we got them all. I kind of like just run them to the outside. I'm gonna pin them in the exterior of the barn, like I said, just to make our life easier feeding these. I actually do have 2 feeders in this section, so once we turn them all together, I'll fill those 2 up. But it was getting so congested in here that yesterday, whenever I cut all these into 10-foot sections, just to give more room out here, I threw 2 feeders in this one side panel. Anyway, all right, I'm going to take you along as we get these fed. So we have a similar setup to this at home. Our barn's more wide open, so ours is a pole barn, but it's actually, I mean, it's very similar to this one, except for there's just more airflow and more light. So we'll show you that setup here after we get done with this farm. So I can already tell this cut way down on feed waste. This is, like I said, we just did this yesterday, and we were getting 2 full buckets. So I started giving them, they're getting 8 buckets of this grower ration, and I was getting 2 full buckets of waste, which it wasn't 2 buckets of straight feed. There's a lot of like leftover hay and stuff in there too. But I was filling up 2 trash buckets basically, you know. Today we're only gonna have 1, so we already cut our feed waste basically in half just by putting those boards over the top. And maybe our sheep are just pickier than others, but if I don't clean the feed out, notice they do not like to eat the new feed even when I dump. If I just dumped it right on top, they kind of stick their nose up at it. They'll eat some of it, but they will definitely waste a lot more if I don't clean out the old feed. So that's why I just kind of go through the extra work of cleaning that all out. This is locked for some reason. You know how I like to open gates. She knows how I like to open gates. Who was it, Max? You know, it's probably smart to lock the gate because I just kind of always take the chance of them happening to run into it and get out. To me, it's worth the risk not having to open that gate a second time. I just put 1 bucket per 10-foot feeder. Seems to give them all, I want them all to have access to it at the same time. Like I said, I put 2 feeders in the side here, so as soon as we turn this group out, I'll just have everything ready and dump 2 more buckets in those feeders. We always have some that just go straight to the soy hulls and start eating those, even though they have infinite access to those. What do they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Something like that with the sheep too. You can dump as much feed in front of them as you want, but you can't make them eat it. Okay, let me grab these last 2 buckets. Okay, I'm gonna let this group out because that's where the extra feeders are. This whole feed barn thing works out for us. Make a little better gate set up here, but this will work for now. Yeah, we always have some. I'll try to still jump through. Yeah, pushing them all one way. I should have should have left them out the other way. Then they have to actually walk down through here. I always run them all out of here, out of these side pins. Otherwise, like that side only has one opening at one end, and they will literally just stand there at the fence and bawl like they're hungry and will not walk around and come back in. They always just try to run through that panel. So I always take the time to walk everybody out of the side pins once we're done feeding. So then everybody's in the middle, and then they all have chance to eat. And here's our watering setup. We just basically we're just using the same thing that we do out in our pasture. We just set up one in the barn. This is working. It works good, but we've noticed since they eat a lot, since they're eating feed, their water gets dirty quicker. So usually every day or every other day, I'll come in here and just kind of dump this out too and just let it recharge. Watch out, Max. Try not to make a huge water hole in here. If I can help it. And we scrubbed it all just a couple days ago. Scrubbed the whole thing out. But definitely needs more attention out there when they're in the barn than they do out in the pasture.
I found an E-tag. Then.
Did you?
Yeah. See?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're an ear tag down, aren't we?
Yeah. In the door.
There you go. Hold still. Reuse it. So we've only been doing this, like I said, like 2 weeks. So just kind of really getting our systems down. But it takes me about 30 to 45 minutes in here. Now, the days I have to feed hay, it takes an extra 15 minutes to feed hay, but I just have to go get a bale and cut the net wrap and stuff off of it. But it's really not that big of a deal. But as long as I don't have any issues in here, like if nothing needs to be treated, then yeah, 30 to 45 minutes easily gets, is easily enough time to feed. Well, it's like 180 lambs, then we have some cull ewes and stuff mixed in with here. So we're talking close to 200 animals. So with this setup, I'm tracking all the feed that we're putting into these lambs. And basically we just want to see if it comes out, if monetarily, if it's worth it to do this. Obviously, I think they're going to gain more, but it's also costing us more than leaving them out on pasture. So it'd be interesting to see whenever we do sell these, how much more we get per ram lamb, and I'll figure up all the feed costs. I'm keeping track of all the soy hulls, all the bales of hay, all the grower feed that we're putting into them, and my time, I could easily figure that up as well. So keep track of all that and give you guys an update, you know, whenever we do send these to market. It's going to be a little while. It'll probably be sometime late in the fall before we actually market these and send them to the sale barn. So But once we do that, we'll give you guys a video on whether we think it was worth it, time and money wise. All right, we'll go show you our feed barn we have set up at the house. All right, so we're at our home farm now, and here's kind of our ram lamb setup. Again, we have a couple of cull ewes, and actually we threw some of our mature rams in here as well, just because we didn't really have anywhere else to go with them. So this is kind of our catch-all, but it's mainly a ram lamb pen. And you can kind of see the difference. This used to be, we had this set up for cows. Actually, this is a cattle feeder here, but the sheep just walk right through it, so it's really not a big deal. And then we just have another hog feeder where we put soy holes in, very similar to what we have at the rental farm, except for this one's just not as, the one at the rental farm is actually kind of ideal. This one here does draw some moisture. So like here's a chunk of like moldier feed just right on the side, but I think it's just because it's a metal feeder here. And also probably part of that is this barn is way more open. So this is our pole barn. It is built for hay, and then we've just modified it for cattle originally, and then now for sheep. So we just put, you know, pallets on one side, and that closes off, you know, the main opening. And well, actually we have pallets on both sides. We put pallets up against the hay too, so they wouldn't reach their head through and kind of undermine our haystack. Might have happened last year where they stuck their head through our gates and took out the bottom bale. Anyway, no lives are lost, but we don't want to do that again. So we put pallets up there that fixes absolutely everything. Got the same feeders. We're actually using the same feed, keeping everything the same as what we do at the rental farm. A mineral in here, and then yeah, here's our ram lamb crop with a couple of cull ewes kind of mixed in. And then we also have just a few gates if we need basically this is our little corral section. We'll just put it up in the corner if we need to, give him a shot or something. But this year we didn't ban, we didn't fix any of our rams. So everybody's still intact right now. And that's the way we intend to sell them whenever we sell them at the sale barn. Now the main difference, like I said, we have a lot more light, a lot more airflow on this barn than what we do at the rental farm, but they can also go outside. So this is kind of nice. I have a gate where I can just, if I wanted to, I can run everybody either in the barn and shut this gate, or I can run everybody out of the barn and shut a gate, and then they're isolated from one pen or the other. If I need to go in there and clean that out, I can lock everybody outside, which is handy. Or like when MFA comes and delivers feed, I lock everybody in the barn, then they can pull their truck in and fill up my feeder. I don't have to fill up those soy hole feeders by hand. They can just auger it out of the truck. So it's pretty handy having, a couple different ways of doing that, which they auger the one at the rental farm. MFA also augers those soy holes directly into that bin. I do not bucket those, several tons into that bin. I just call them once a week and have them auger it in there. But also just put the hay out here just to give them more space on the inside. Anyway, but overall pretty similar setup, but yeah, it does have its differences. I'm not sure which one's better necessarily yet. These definitely have more sunshine, more fresh air, more airflow. I'm thinking this is probably the better method. I'm also a little bit worried about them picking up parasites out here on this open ground, but they usually have it so picked clean that I'm not so sure if they're actually even trying to really eat anything off the ground or not. But time will tell on that. So anyway, that's our couple different barn setups. If anybody else has anything different, so if you kind of liking this, feed barn setup we have going here, does kind of simplify our lives as far as keeping the rams away from the ewes. So if anybody else has a different feed barn setup or even something similar with slight differences, let us know in the comments. We're always, ready to take advice. We're always changing stuff. If we think it's going to be better, we're not afraid to change something. This is just kind of our first attempt here at this setup. So please, if you have better ideas, let us know in the comments. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one.